the SRTI
Yes.
alignment of DATEX2, AlertC, TPEG, and DENM. We do an important job with regard to the common understanding and common interest that we see with regard to the delegated regulations. Here is delegated act that are stemming from the ITS directive from 2010, where a delegated regulation is developed for the provision of safety-related traffic information. And that's a very nice concept. And you might know that we have a couple of data categories there, and we need a common understanding of how these data categories are interpreted by the responsible data sources throughout Europe. And in 2013, we thought of responsible data sources as the road operators and acting in a traffic center, and they bring in the value chain of traffic information distribution their view on the road to the vehicle. But that is changing. We had a linear approach in the past, and I shortcutted the transition, because I assume you all aware of the more integrated approach of traffic sources and traffic data exchange between all these actors nowadays. But we have some challenges there, and that's how we interpret the real world outside. And if we are looking at the leading standards and the leading organizations, then we see in the upper right, where we have the traffic control centers and the roadside stations. There's the domain of the road operators, who have a leading ontology standardized in DATEX2. If we go more to the service providers, then the more leading concepts are TPEG and AlertC as a standard. It's a comparable set of standards with different technical and functional aspects for the support of the services that are run in the primary processes of the service providers. And once we start talking to the vehicle, or the person driving the vehicle, we see additional standards emerging. And that's stemming from technical constraints, but also from different information available and different requirements in terms of timeliness and urgency of processing. And all these standards make perfect sense in their own scope. But we are still talking about the real same world outside. So we need to manage the interoperability between these standards. While having this, why do we need to manage? Nowadays, and that was maybe a trivial statement, but nowadays we have the confirmation of all actors involved that road safety is a joint responsibility of all actors. And all these actors see that their scope, their domain, is tending to have more overlap with the adjoining domains in the circle, where we see more collaboration between the service providers and the road operators with regard to using the services of the road operators as a traffic management service, where we see the OEMs becoming a strong actor in the digital arena on the road and in the roadside. We need to confirm that the circle is not as perfect as it looks, and it is more like a giant star with a lot of connections between all these actors for different data sets with different roles between, but still about the same road with the same traffic with the same type of information. an important aspect in there is that there is a legal obligation assigned to the road operator to assure road safety. Of course, we all want to contribute there from the public, from the civil side and the private side, but the public responsibility is assigned to the road operator. He has to assure that the roads are safe to use. So we need a lot of collaboration in this circle, and the best example so far I've seen, the most deeply collaboration, most operational collaboration seen so far in the digital arena of road traffic information is in this joint working group. And this joint working group is working towards a standardization because we all recognize the benefits of this harmonized and aligned approach. So what, I'll take you back a few years, and this is the document of 2014. This joint responsibility was recognized by the service providers associated in the TISA community and the DATEX2 consortium, reflecting the road operators in the more traffic control center data exchange role, and the Amsterdam group, at that time the leading group in the arena of the CITS developments. Later, the car-to-car communication consortium, the Data for Road Safety group, and the C-Roads are emerging, and we want to have them involved. This joint working group is hosted by TISA because they have a governance structure which gives this document a status in the TISA community as a deployment recommendation, which is a more formal status for the participants than just a report. And that was considered to be of high value. And we've already then identified that we need a continuous process for maintenance of this document, because we foresaw already then that we would have extensions in content scope and also in technologies. And that is something that has become eminent meanwhile. Well, this SRTI delegated regulation is stipulating that there are 8 safety-related event categories, and whether the legislators did this on purpose or not, I'm not sure. But these 8 categories are not so clearly defined, except that we all understand what a temporary slippery road is and what is meant with animal and people on the road. That's not so difficult to understand. And but in the real world of traffic information collection and incident detection, we have a much wider scope of incidents and events that are reported and would be part of such a category, but we don't know which ones. And in 2013, a small group of DATEX2 experts, I think mainly Joseph was involved there as the organizing the contribution from the DATEX2 community, and TISA came up with a list of 53 events that were identified as events that have are the implementation of this 8 data categories. And that was the start of the work that was reflected in the version 1 of 2014. 2014. In 2016, we did a small update where the DENM events were added and some minor modifications were done. But a big revision wasn't done until last year. And this big revision had a couple of reasons. We did an assessment of the events for each category. And as you can see here, we have lines, and we have a functional event defined. So a real world event being water on the road or flooding. And then we say, if you want to express this in DATEX2, you do it this way. If you do it in TMC, this is the event code in TMC. In TPEG, we have a course code and a sub-course code. And in DENM, we have also a course code and a sub-course code. And it's not coincidental that DENM and TPEG are relatively similar, because the DENM standard is reusing substantial parts of the TPEG tech specifications for the causes and subcauses. But this was the structure of the document in 2017. But then we said, well, is it covering the real world interpretation of the SRTI delegated regulation? So what we did is we did an inventory taking by addressing all motorway road operators in Europe and NAP, national access points, to collect information about the events that are flagged as SRTI relevant. And then we found out that instead of 53, there were over 250 events flagged in throughout Europe as being safety relevant. But extending this list as saying, well, this is the common denominator in Europe for SRTI events was not really of value. So we assessed how many of these new events were actually used in more than 1 or 2 countries. And in the end, this list of over 250 events was compressed to a list of almost 80, and even that was perceived as being too much for this SRTI work. And here you see the outcomes. What we see here is that the upper blue lines are the events that were already in the list of 2017, and in the new in the assessment we came up that many other new ones are identified as being as used and flagged as SRTI. And also you see here the in the column with the numbers is the numbers reflecting the amount of countries that is using this event in the SRTI feed. And a special interesting category was the unprotected accident area. The unprotected accident area is only one line, and in all in all standards, we don't have an unprotected accident area available as such. Nevertheless, we see that a lot of sources flag accidents, either involving specific vehicle types, as being safety relevant. So this category C needed to be extended with a few accident types, because accidents are really dangerous. They cause very often secondary accidents, being more serious than the original one. So this assessment was bringing this kind of information to the working group, and that led to a new list of events. We also did a revision of the mapping of the real world events to the standards, and that was needed because DATEX2 got a new version, version 3, well propagated meanwhile. The TMC standard has a revision now, and some developments in the DENM and TPEG community are needed. Also, an update of the mapping. So that was the second part of the job done in the working group. So we took the all existing and new events and created a mapping to the standard involved. And here you see the result, and that's all very nicely documented. And the DENM ATC columns are also revised seriously. And that was done very seriously because the joint working group is extended with the Car-to-Car Communication Consortium, and the Car-to-Car Communication Consortium is a consortium of CITS stakeholders representing OEMs and their supporting industries in the CITS world. In the working group, we see mainly consulting companies that support the OEMs in the CITS DENM implementations. And another newcomer is the Data for Road Safety, that was formerly known as the Data Task Force. That is the community that brings data from the vehicle via the backbone of the OEMs to the road operators. And this Data for Road Safety is a high-level initiative organized by the European Commission with the top of the OEM industry in Europe, in order to get this data flow with the vehicle as a data source going in with regard to road safety. And that's one of the was one of the first remarks I made. This is really reflecting the joint will to contribute to the road safety. And C-Roads is still in the process to join this joint working group. In the background, they have contributed to the work that we did, but the steering group has to approve the logo of C-Roads and the formal step to say, okay, this is also work that we agree with. The working group is still hosted by TISA, is still chaired by the DATEX2 community, and we have the version 3 of the document released. So, like I said, if you look at the previous page, you see that there is still a white spot. The C-Roads community is not there, but we hope that we have a version 3 with all the contributing groups in the header of the document. Where I have to say that the Amsterdam group is not really existing or active anymore. That's all superseded by C-Roads and Car-to-Car. Well, this version 3 is having 10 new events added on basis of the assignment of the assessment and the discussions we had afterwards in the group. And we see some future work at the horizon. And that's not a very far horizon, because we see that with the car as a data source, it's becoming that's having a real impact on the work that we are doing, because this will need a full bidirectional mapping, where we said in 2013, well, generally the road operator is the source of information, and this is going through the data value chain in one direction. But we see now that with the vehicle as a data source, and if you go back to the circle, it's starting to communicate with the roadside, where we have the road operator, and the vehicle is going to communicate with other vehicles, other service providers. So for the road safety, and in general we need this, but in for road safety it is eminent, and it would be a very weak proposition of the community to say, well, for road safety that's not the most urgent thing. That's clear and well recognized that we need this full bidirectional mapping. Well, what events have been added to the list? These 10, that's a vehicle on fire, the accident, I already mentioned, that was one of the most striking conclusions of the analysis, that the unprotected accident area was really truly insufficient. We need also the real accidents, even if they are protected. Then we also have the rescue and recovery work. So doesn't have to be an accident, but there is something happening on the road on an unexpected place at an unexpected time that is really considered to be safety relevant. Snowplows in action. One can imagine it's not just about the fact that it is snowing and slippery, but snowplows in action, especially if there's substantial amount of snow, you don't want to be in the vicinity of a snowplow passing by. That's really dangerous for the people being in the roadside once a snowplow gets by. Serious fire, not necessarily a vehicle on fire. A serious fire in the vicinity of the road is very distracting and very dangerous. Could be of the heat, could be of the smoke, could be of anything, but it is considered to be safety information. Then we were lacking a few weather-related dangerous events, where we have fog, hail, and thunderstorm added to the list. Well, now back to what you need to do if you want to implement a DATEX2 safety-related traffic information service. First of all, you need to take inventory of which categories you have data from. And why is this relevant? We see that other data sources like insurance companies, towing companies, rescue companies are starting to become data source for, as they are the first source of report of an incident, and they only have that specific type of information. They can then select only that specific data category and use the profile that is related to that in the DATEX2 web tool. I won't go into the demonstration of that. We've done that in other sessions, and it's very well documented on the website. A very important choice to be made, and that's usually something that is organized on a national level, is which location referencing standards should be implemented. Nowadays, we see more and more something with coordinates, but also the TMC location tables and the TPEG location referencing should not be forgotten, as they have a really substantial value for specific services. Then you have to make a more technical choice, what format you want to use. And then finally, you need to select the way how you are going to publish your data, whether it will be push, pull, whether you will have, well, a lot of choices to make. And in our next webinar is the how you work with DATEX2 Exchange, fully presented. And I would really recommend the more technical people to go there, because it also has to do with how reliable your service has to be, how real time it has to be. We did one very new thing as DATEX2 community, and that is that we start hosting a service profile and its related documentation for one of our pan-European user communities. Data for Road Safety has chosen DATEX2 as the standard for exchanging level 3 data, which is in their terminology on the event level, broken down vehicle, accident, slippery road. So that's aggregated data from the sensors in the vehicle of multiple vehicles in some situations. And a profile has been agreed upon also with location referencing method and some additional attributes that can be delivered by this community. And that profile is also on the DATEX2 website. And that was my concluding remark. I have two key messages for you. Drive safe, stay safe,